Seaver bets 5,000.
Love those nines. Love them.
That's why I get to rep them in a spot where I don't have one.
This would be a very loose call for Vanessa. Scott did raise it up pre-flop. But when a guy's winning this much, it's hard to believe he always has it.
Was that first try? It's really good.
Well,
That chip seems reluctant to leave Vanessa's stack.
And it won't. She folds.
Just want to see it.
You want to call? I mean, there's...
Can I call with King's Full?
No.
All right, never mind then.
It's Scott's world. Y'all just playing it. Will his heater continue? I wouldn't bet against it. Come on back to see what happens next in the big game. Welcome back to the big game, where we just saw our loose cannon, Aaron Jensen, get called down by Scott Seaver with only ace high. How did he make that hero call? Let's find out as we go behind the poker face.
So the hand right before this big ace-7 hand, Aaron had just won a decent-sized pop with king-queen off Lex, and then he opened the next hand, and I thought his range might have been a little looser because he was happy with having the chips. I looked down at ace-7 and thought, this is a really good hand to 3-bet, and I thought I'd just take it down pre-flop a lot. And then, much to my chagrin, Aaron called, and so I went to the flop. So the flop was 4-4-5 with a flush draw, and I decided to check, and Aaron decided to check back. And at this point, I thought he definitely didn't have any of the medium pocket pairs like 7s or 8s because I think he would bet them. And I didn't think he'd get any of the big pocket pairs because I was really confident he would 4-bet them pre-flop. So the turn came a jack, and I checked again because I thought that's a card that Aaron definitely might hit a lot of the time. A lot of his hands, I think, are maybe ace-jacks, king-jacks, or queen-jacks. And Aaron bets
5,000.
So I really, at this point, just thought he had two cards between 10 and king. Maybe has a jack as one of them, but I really thought he didn't. So I call the bet. And the river is a 10. And I'm thinking this is a terrible card because half of the hands I beat now in my head, I no longer beat. And really the only hands at all that I beat is king-queen. So I check, thinking I'm just going to give up, but he bets 12,000. And I'm just thinking to myself that this is just the next bet in his line of bets in this spot. And he'd been very aggressive in this spot. And I feel that in his head, had he had a jack, he would have bet more on the turn, and I didn't think he was going to be betting a 10 here for value, so I really just assumed at the time that the only hand he could have possibly had was king-queen, so it took a while for me to convince myself, but I manned up and made the call, and luckily I was right.
Scott somehow put Aaron on the one hand he could beat, and he was right. He hasn't been wrong much this week, and he's on pace to be one of the biggest winners we've ever had on the big game.
So, yes or no, another round after this?
Sure.
Yeah, why not? Let's gamble.
Okay.
Aaron Jensen will be on the straddle this hand.
You guys want to play for it instead of...
No, straddle's good.
Okay.
What the hell?
But then no straddles, I mean. So no straddling.
Straddle's more fun.
That's what you think.
Lex folds.
Lexi proposed that they make it the bigger game.
How about a big hand for Vanessa? Cowboys.
2,000.
Raises to $2,000.
Daniel's got a version of his favorite hand.
On the button. Re-raises to 6,000. Scott folds. Todd folds. The cannon's out.
4 of these still equals 100, right?
I'll just see 2, 4,
Yeah, do your
5,
thing.
15, 19.
Vanessa, again, just wanting to check out her implied odds in Daniel's stack. Clearly deciding whether she wants to smooth call and slow play or raise it up right here.
It's just a smooth call.
All right.
Vanessa's had two very profitable hands with aces. Let's see how her kings fare.
2 to the flop. 10-6 jack. 2 hearts. Russo checks. Daniel checks middle pair.
Daniel doesn't bite.
Another jack on the turn. Vanessa checks. And Daniel checks.
From the way he played it pre-flop by re-raising, he's gotten 2 free cards.
8 of spades on the river.
Let's see if Vanessa's finally going to try to extract some value from her kings.
7,500.
She makes it 7,500 to go. Daniel calls, and Vanessa wins.
I guess I got away cheap. Yep.
Daniel thinks Vanessa maybe could have gotten some more out of him.
I was going to bet more if you checked. I was going to bet 15. I really was.
Vanessa takes a pot worth 29 grand.
She folds for 15. You win the hand.
Oh, yeah. She's going to check fold for 15 on the river.
So Vanessa continues to get good returns on her strong starting hands. And will return with more Power Poker after this.
Do you think you can beat this game? For a chance to be a loose cannon and play on the big game this season, log on to PokerStars.net. There are free qualifying tournaments every day.
I mean, it's obviously appealing to have a player like the loose cannon at the table who, A, can't leave the table with any money unless he makes more than the money he sits down with, and B, doesn't have very much experience playing at these stakes in the first place. So those two factors combined mean a lot of equity for the professional players at the table, and it was enough of a reason to convince me to play.
Oh, all the pros drooling over that cannon money. We continue on with the big game where Vanessa has been on a tear ever since she doubled through Tony G on hand 4. And as we start hand 107, she's up nearly 190 grand. Jacks for the cannon.
Aaron's now got a short stack to go with his short experience. Let's see how he handles it.
Raised to 2,500. Lex folds. 10-9 suited for Vanessa. She calls. Daniel's out. Seaver folds. Todd on the straddle.
Todd straddled this hand, so he does have some money invested.
25?
And he folds.
Aha, the pump fake. With 2 cards lower than Aaron's jacks, Vanessa's going to need a lot of help from the board.
8-Jack-King. Jensen flops a set.
We could see some action here. Vanessa's flopped a pretty big draw.
Aaron fires 4 grand.
How much you have total?
50-ish.
I hate those questions.
Even though Aaron's flop middle set, his equity has decreased slightly after the flop due to Vanessa's open-ender.
And she calls. The turn, the 4 of hearts.
With hearts and straight draws out there, Aaron would do well to make Vanessa pay to continue to draw.
15.
And Aaron makes it 15,000 to go.
Aaron's given Vanessa the wrong odds to draw to her straight.
Vanessa folds, and Aaron wins a decent-sized pot.
Any smaller than that, and I think she might have called.
Well, Joe, it seems like Aaron's won his fair share here this week.
Well, the numbers don't lie, Chris. The problem is when he's winning, it's just not keeping up with his losses. We can see that he's still down over 29 grand with just 33 hands left to turn a profit.
I don't think I have one pot against him.
Oh, no, I was going to give you this one. No, I'm just kidding. That was for me. You don't get it?
No, I do.
You were, never mind.
You don't like it when people ask how many chips you have? Do you have a problem with the way that I asked right there? That's inappropriate?
No, I just could see it, but I guess you could.
I really can't. So I'm like literally not gonna ask unless I don't know.
No, it's fine. You're allowed.
No, I know. I'm just saying if you're gonna make a smirk, you usually have a reason.
Okay, it's fine to ask. What do you think about etiquette about when somebody says? Because I think it's a good point. Because I've been thinking a lot, obviously, after that hand against Phil Ivey, where he just soul crushed, in strapped, snapped me with the 5 deuce, and he asked me how much I had left.
Yeah.
If I really think if I wouldn't have replied, he wouldn't have made that move.
Yeah, you don't have to reply. You don't have to say a word. If someone asks you how you have, you don't have to move.
Phil has never replied in his life in that spot.
Remember that time on High Stakes when I kept asking Mimi how many chips she had, everybody kept answering? And I'm like, will you guys shut up? I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Mimi.
Yeah, he wanted to get her to count it. I remember.
But, so, you never heard him?
No, I mean, I asked him like 5 hands in a row just for like the fun of it.
Who had Ivy?
Yeah.
Daniel has raised. Scott calls.
The fifth time I ask, and he doesn't answer in time. He takes his entire stack, stacks them up in front of me like this, and goes, "Can you see it now?" I go,
pissed, right?
I go, "Yeah." I go, "I could see it over there. How much do you have?"
You jerk.
Leave it to Scott Seaver to be the one guy on the planet who likes needling Phil Ivey.
The loose cannon on the straddle re-raises to 10,000.
Aaron Jensen has made a very aggressive play from the straddle, especially with a raise and a call in front of him, but he does have the best hand.
Daniel calls.
I think at this point Scott knows not to ask Daniel how much he's got.
Beware.
With Daniel's call, Scott's got better odds to call Jensen's re-raise, even though he is dominated.
Scott does make the call.
I know these guys are pros, but the word spew comes to mind calling this big of a re-raise.
A big flop.